We are a nation of overachievers. We didn't just send an astronaut to the moon. We gave him a buggy with big old knobby tires to drive on that moon. A freaking moon buggy. So why have we settled for mints that only cover up bad breath instead of getting rid of it? We deserve better, like Breath Savers. It's a moon-shooting, buggy-riding mint with Nutrizin, which is scientifically proven to neutralize bad breath. Breath Savers. It's the overachieving mint.
Blog Talk Radio.
Writing your book is the easy part. Promoting your book so readers can find and purchase it is the hard part. Welcome to the Author Chat Show, hosted by author-publisher Lynda D. Brown. Follow us at www.facebook.com/authorchat. And to contact the show to promote your book, contact me at theauthorchatshow@gmail.com. Stay tuned and listen to today's show.
And welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Author Chat Show. I'm your host, Lynda D. Brown. My guest today is author Richard Keller. Richard is stopping by the Author Chat Show to talk about his new book, Coffee Cup Tales, Stories Inspired by Overheard Conversations at the Coffee Shop. This is Richard's first time appearing on the Author Chat Show, and we'll be right back to chat with him about his book after a word from today's sponsor.
PrimeStar Publicity and Public Relations is a full-service firm ready to fill the needs of their clients. Owner Helen Cook has more than 32 years of publicity, public relations, advertising, and marketing experience, and she focuses her professional talents on working with her clients' strengths to create customized, strategic campaigns, whether their needs are great or small. Radio, TV, print, internet, publicity, marketing, creating a social media presence, branding, client positioning, author tours, speaking events. These are just some of the services PrimeStar provides for their clients. For a complete list of services and other information about the company, please visit our website, www.primestarpublicity.com, or email Helen at helen.cook@primestarpublicity.com, or phone 903-654-0938. PrimeStar's home office is located in the Houston, Texas area.
All right, welcome back to the show. For those of you just tuning in, my guest today is author Richard Keller. Richard is stopping by the Author Chat Show to discuss with me about his book, Coffee Cup Tales, Stories Inspired by Overheard Conversations at the Coffee Shop. Richard, welcome to the show.
Lydia, hi. Thank you so much for having me on the air. I greatly appreciate it.
We appreciate you coming on the show and sharing information about your book with us. Since this is your first time on the show, Richard, can we get started with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a father of five, four of them daughters. I'll wait for the sympathy to come through the radio lines. I have been a writer since I've been 3 years old. I have produced over 2,000 articles for print and online media. back in 2014, I started a publishing company called Wooden Pants Publishing in order to promote my works as well as those works of others who are having a hard time getting markets for their stories. And the first book I published was Coffee Cup Tales. And then in May of this year, I re-released it as a second edition with a new cover. That is the basics of my life so far. I mean, I could do so much more, but you only have a certain amount of time.
And with 5 girls, oh my goodness.
Yes, many girls. We're already planning a wedding for all of them all at once in, another 10 years so we can just get it out of the way.
Absolutely. Oh, my goodness, Richard. Now, let me tell you what I found the most intriguing thing about your book. Stories inspired by overheard conversations at the coffee shop. So the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh, my God, what the heck were me and my girlfriend discussing the last time we were in Starbucks?
You're right.
Okay. So tell us how you got started with this. What inspired you to start listening or eavesdropping on conversations and then turning them into tales?
At first, I didn't do this. I was actually mentally telling people not to talk while I was writing other projects. But then I started to catch these snippets of stories of conversation between these people. I mean, this coffee shop, low ceilings, a lot of coffee, a lot of pastry, some alcohol, and that leads to loud conversation, especially when the tables are only a few inches apart. And so I would be typing and I'd hear something and I go, that's a good idea for a story. And so I'd write it down and I write another paragraph about it and I put it away. And then they started to come up more and more in just people right next to me. And I would go, wait a minute, I need to start putting these all together into a anthology. Now, it's not like I took their actual conversations and their profiles, ideas that they provided, and I transformed them into other types of stories.
Okay. And that's, Richard, for those of us that are authors, let's be real. Isn't that usually how we get some type of idea for a story? Could be something that we overheard, could be something that we saw, could be a billboard. It's amazing the things that, if you're paying attention, that you could run into and turn it into a complete novel just by hearing a conversation. Right.
And that's the thing about authors. We have this gift that we were blessed with to take what is going on in the world and transforming it into a story. And this is for all creatives, regardless of whether they write, whether they do art, how, whether they do film or television. There's something that goes on that captures them. And for some people who want to write, who are starting to write, it can be hard for them because they go inside their heads and think, all right, what am I going to write about now? Their brains, and they go, and that's what leads them to throw it all away and say, I'm not going to do it anymore. Listen to their creative soul, and they clear their mind, and they start looking around, or they start listening. They're going to find that one moment that is going to click and say, this is the story I need to write.
Exactly. Now, what is the most intriguing thing you ever overheard at the coffee shop?
There were two, actually.
Okay.
The first one happened behind at a table behind me. They were it was a couple about to break up, and they were discussing the concepts of dates versus dating, where the man, of course, he was going, well, we've gone out on dates, and the girl was going, there's a difference between dates and dating. And I went, well, there's a story right there. And she was crying, and he was being very stoic or just being a jerk about it. And as I left that night, I saw them hugging, but she was really very much, into him, while he was kind of looking out into nothing. And I was like, wow, this is a very scary relationship. And then another one took place right next to me at another table, where they sat down and the gentleman said, you know what, I'm going to want to quit my job because I want to wrestle for the WWE. Do you think God is going to be okay with that? And I went, holy cow, that's a story right there. So those two concepts went into Coffee Cup Tales.
Wow. Like I said, the things that we don't pay attention to, the words that come out of our mouths when we're out in public that somebody else might be listening to,
right.
That is, yeah. Does it make you feel, at first, did you feel a little uncomfortable listening to other people's conversations before you said, you know what, this is something that I could possibly really use for a book?
I didn't. As a creative, as an author, I think you're given just a little license to be a voyeur in this case. Because if you don't, where do those stories come from? I mean, you can put everything together, the characters in the universe, but there has to be that spark that kicks it in. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really feel bad about doing it, because it's not like I went to them and said, yeah, I'm going to use everything that you just said and transcribe it into a book. It was more of, I'm taking the concept of what I comprehended and putting it into a story.
Exactly. Using my imagination to turn it into this really wonderful story that people are really going to be able to relate to. And really, believe it or not, sometimes that's exactly how it happens. Richard, you overhear a snippet and you say, you know what, I could do something with that. And then all of a sudden you're getting a lot of reviews from people going, oh my God, I can really relate to that. Has that been some of the reviews that you've received with this book? Because you've gotten some pretty good reviews on Amazon with your book.
Yeah, I mean, I have gotten feedback from that saying these are really just this is a lot of what I think about. This is a lot of what I do. The interesting thing about coffee shops is I like to call it young adult angst. There's a lot of drama that goes on in these, especially in these locations, especially when you're in a college town and you're in a coffee shop that's full of college students. There is that young adult angst that comes from so many factors out there that it's that prime setup. So I haven't heard from many college students who went, oh my God, that's me. Luckily, hopefully I don't hear from too many college students that go, wait a minute, that's exactly my conversation. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people say these are really good stories. I mean, they're except for, maybe one or two that are kind of speculative, they're in that realm of reality. I don't really go too far off the mark for humor or anything like that. I try to make it as, real as possible.
Exactly. Now, Richard, do you find that you tend to get better conversations? I guess that's the word that I'm looking for. When you're at a chain coffee shop, like maybe a Starbucks, as opposed to a local mom and pop type venture. Where do you get the best conversation?
Yeah, it's the other way around. It is a local coffee shop and cafe that's been around forever. And that's because it's bigger. You get a little more nuance to them, and there are different areas. So, for example, I might be sitting in one room and hearing one type of conversation, but I'll be down in the basement and hear another type of conversation. It's hard to do when you're at a Starbucks or a Mugs or something like that, because there's so much turnaround
Right.
And there's a lot of people going instead of staying and doing it. That it's hard to kind of grasp that type of stuff. When you're at a local coffee shop that's bigger, that may have food where you kind of have to wait for it, and there's more lingering, that's where the conversations tend to come in. Once people have coffee and food in them, they tend to relax. They tend to open up a bit more.
Absolutely. Do you find that once you started picking up the conversations at the coffee shop, that when you go out to dinner, that you find yourself consciously or either unconsciously listening out for other conversations to see what might make a great story? Okay.
Yeah, I was in Las Vegas a few months ago, just on a kind of just a wind down, and as I was walking, I would see situations, and then I would hear a conversation. So I remember walking past one guy. He was on the phone with his friend and said, "Hey, do you want to go to the strip joint?" I'm like, "Okay, I understand the concept of. I have an idea for that." So I took that line and threw it into I put a brief synopsis of what the story would be. Another situation, I was waiting in line for something, and I saw a lady in just all white, just walking very fast through the casino. And I went, "Oh, this is another good story." I grasped that characterization and put it there. So, yeah, I do that so much. Unfortunately, sometimes where it happens, I may not have my phone or a pad nearby where let me write this down. Or, if I see something driving in the car, it's not like I can pull over on the middle of the highway and just write things down and go on. But I do that because it helps out down the line. It gives you those future ideas where you can go back and say, I need a new story. Let me look around. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Let me put it together.
Absolutely. Especially if you're writing short stories, because you have so many different little stories that you can use to create one book. So that's a really great way to come up with story ideas. So I think that's fabulous. Now, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, author Richard Keller is going to actually read an excerpt from his book, because you're now back with the book in front of you now. Is that correct, Richard?
Yes, I do. Yes, I am in my office.
Okay, great. Okay, great. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Richard's going to read an excerpt from his book, Coffee Cup Tales, Stories Inspired by Overheard Conversations at the Coffee Shop. So don't go away. We'll be right back after word from today's sponsor.
PrimeStar Publicity and Public Relations is a full-service firm ready to fill the needs of their clients. Owner Helen Cook has more than 32 years of publicity, public relations, advertising, and marketing experience, and she focuses her professional talents on working with her clients' strengths to create customized, strategic campaigns, whether their needs are great or small. Radio, TV, print, internet, publicity, marketing, creating a social media presence, branding, client positioning, author tours, speaking events. These are just some of the services PrimeStar provides for their clients. For a complete list of services and other information about the company, please visit our website, www.primestarpublicity.com, or email Helen at helen.cook@primestarpublicity.com, or phone 903-654-0938. PrimeStar's home office is located in the Houston, Texas area.
All right, we're back with author Richard Keller, who's about to read an excerpt from his book, Coffee Cup Tales, Stories Inspired by Overheard Conversations at the Coffee Shop. Okay, Richard, what page and what chapter are you going to be reading from?
So this is page 97 from the print book. I'm not sure what it is on the online version, and it is the story called Dates versus Dating, and this is inspired by that confrontation I heard and saw from behind me where a couple was breaking up.
also. Go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
All right. Come here, Ben replied, opening his arms to Darlene with a broad smile and a waterfall of tears. Darlene entered his embrace. While she squeezed her eyes shut to absorb his love, Ben stared emotionally out into the nothingness. Well, Carrie asked after she completed reading her novel, what did you think? Wow, you hate guys, don't you? First, Julie, it's fiction, Carrie answered. Second, I don't hate guys. There's always some truth in fiction, Julie said. Carrie responded with a snort and an eye roll, like you haven't heard it all in the writing conferences and workshops you've attended. Of course I've heard the truth in fiction line before, Carrie gazed down at her tablet. I just decided to ignore it. Yes, because ignoring something always makes the unreal disappear. Carrie closed her eyes and exhaled in order to prevent a loud and caustic response, which would have gotten her kicked out of the coffee shop. Don't listen to her, Carrie, said Debbie, Julie's fiancée. Doesn't know anything about writing. Says who? Julie asked. Says the woman who has to hide her erotic novels in the closet every time company shows up. Tattletale, Julie retorted. Would you like to know what I think? Carrie opened her eyes to gaze at Gavin sitting across from her. No, but I'm pretty sure you're going to tell me anyway. What I can't believe is you used a long introductory prepositional phrase to start a sentence, Gavin said. Is that it? And you hate guys. You too? Carrie asked. Gavin shrugged. Hey, I'm a lemming. What you gonna do? I don't hate you, Gavin, Carrie said. And how do I really know? A soft harumph came from Carrie while she re-examined the closing paragraph. Supposed to go this way. Carrie thought her closest friends would praise the first piece of fiction she ever produced and provide assurances she didn't make a terrible mistake quitting her full-time reporting position with the local newspaper. It should have been a moment for combined confidence boost and ego inflation. Now it seemed more like one of her critique group meetings, except not as gentle. What about the rest of the story, she asked in a quieter voice. I liked it, Debbie said. Carrie's confidence rose. It's good, started Gavin. Carrie's ego began to inflate. Except for the immature way you portrayed Darlene, and Ben for that matter. Her confidence and ego crashed into each other and went down in flames. I didn't think about that before, Julie said. But you're right. Darlene's a whiner, and Ben is a heartless bastard, Gavin added. You think Darlene's a whiner because she's looking for the right person to start a relationship? Carrie asked. Nah, said Julie. It's due to the whole dates versus dating crap. She constantly has to know if they're going on dates or dating. Who cares? Julie, it's the underlying theme of the whole story. Carrie's cheeks began to flush with anger. There's a distinct separation between going on a few dates and exclusively dating. What Julie meant to say is pretty much everyone knows the difference between the two, Debbie said to dial down the tension. No, I meant the whole thing sounds, no, you didn't, Debbie mumbled through gritted teeth. Julie noticed Carrie's straight, thin lips and the glint in her eyes. Yeah, what Debbie said. Do you or Gavin know the difference anymore? Carrie's voice simmered with impatience. You've both been in committed relationships for years. She turned toward Julie and Debbie. Hell, you two are getting married this weekend. She's right, you know, Debbie stated. Julie raised her hands in protest. Hey, just because Debbie and I have a loving, monogamous, sexually adventurous relationship doesn't mean I'm unfamiliar with the concept of dates versus dating. How sexually adventurous? Gavin asked. Debbie and Julie eyed Gavin, who seemed to suddenly find his napkin very interesting. Look, I'm not saying it's the worst story I've ever heard, Julie stated. Gee, that's swell, Carrie said. I just think you need to remove the dates versus dating stuff as the main theme. I delete those elements and the entire novel falls apart. And the hating men thing, Gavin added. Gotta change that. Because there aren't men like Ben, Carrie asked. Oh, hell yeah, tons of them. Stereotypical. You wouldn't find my Jen telling people I'm an emotionless android, Gavin said, referring to his living girlfriend. Your Jen, Debbie asked. Well, not like I own her or anything. Own her? Debbie asked. Best to shut up now, Carrie said. Right, Gavin agreed. Carrie, these two are way off.
Go ahead, sweetie.
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay. That is amazing. And you got that from, and for those that might have just came into the last end of the show, Richard, tell us again, what part of that conversation did you hear in a coffee shop that inspired that story?
It was a concept of dates versus dating, where the person I heard was the man said we went on a few dates, and the woman who was next to him said there is a difference between dates and dating, and that's what turned into Dates versus Dating, which is one of these and part of the anthology of Coffee Cup Tales.
Exactly. Now, I bet you anything these were either late 20, early 30-something having this conversation. Am I correct?
Definitely in their 20s in this case, I believe.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It sounds like a conversation that they would have. Another story that I liked, and I want to remind my listening audience that if you go to Amazon.com, which is a site that I usually have up when I'm doing the promotion for the book, I love that look inside feature that allows you to read a sample. And I was kind of scrolling through that before I had a chance to really chat with Richard. I love the story too. I think it's called Swipe, where the male and female are in a what we call now a new social relationship. You know, where the phone plays a central role in the relationship. It's just mind-boggling for somebody who was born in the late 50s, early 60s, like I was, that this is exactly how people are now, especially the younger folks are having relationships, Richard. It's mind-boggling. But, again, I could see, you know, because of where we are in society, everybody's so busy. Everything is now available to us with walking around in our hands, doing everything on our phones that we used to actually have a computer to do, to use it in order to do the things that we need to do. That we can now do everything on our phone. So it's just a weird situation, isn't it? Do you find that as weird as I do?
I do, and especially with the people I saw it with, because they were not 20 or 30-year-olds. In fact, at the coffee shop I go to, which shall remain nameless because then I won't get any more story ideas, it's the college kids that have these very full, catered, and sometimes very swear-heavy conversations. But the couple I saw doing this very quiet, you know, looking at their phones was an older couple in their 50s. They were just not talking to each other. I don't know if they were married. I believe they were, but they were just swiping and kind of looking, showing them their phones to each other, and there was very little conversation in it. And I looked at him like, how strange, how weird. And I put it, and that's why I put that in there as the first story, because it really gives you a sense of, you know, the way that society is now. Now, when they pick this book up 20, 30 years from this point, who knows what it'll be like. They may just have mental conversations over their phone chips in their head. But in this case, it really, it gives it an idea of, wow, there's, you know, this is what it was like in the 21st century when it came to conversation between people, that it wasn't a conversation anymore. It was just, you know, digital communication.
Almost like a series of grunts.
Yes.
As we can, you know, as we chat, as we're checking our phones while we're supposedly having a conversation. Believe it or not, Richard, we're down to our last 90 seconds. So, first, can you tell our listening audience how they can connect with you online, making sure that you talk about your own talk show that you have. Tell us about that very quickly.
Yep. I have a talk show called The Leap Podcast. You can find more information on that at soundcloud.com under Wooden Pants Media. You can also go to woodenpantspub.com. That's woodenpantspub.com. And you can go to The Leap Podcast. And this is a weekly podcast that features guests who have made creative or life-changing leaps in their lives, and what their successes and failures were, and why they did it. And this is because I did that. I did that back in January myself. So
Sure.
you can find me there. You can email me at woodenpantspub@gmail.com. You can follow me at the Wooden Pants Publishing and Media page on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/woodenpantspub. And then you can follow us on Twitter at, same thing, Wooden Pants Pub.
Wooden Pants Pub. Wow. Well, Richard, we really, really appreciate you coming on the show today, sharing sharing information about your book and also reading the excerpt from the book. I think it's going to really take off. Have you had a chance to get it into your local public library?
I have gotten into my local public library, and I'm in the process right now of getting it into the Ingram catalog so I can get it into bookstores across the nation.
Awesome. Currently on Amazon, the Kindle version of the book is $4.99, and the paperback is $8.99. So, Richard, again, we wish you all the best. Thank you so much again for coming on the show and sharing these wonderful tales. Honestly, it's going to make me more mindful, seriously, when I told with my girlfriend about what I'm actually talking about in public, because you never know who's listening. And to be honest with you, also as a fellow author, whenever I'm hearing something or a story idea pops into my mind, I'll go right to I have an Android phone. So I'll go right to my voice recorder and we'll record it. So that way, especially if I come up with a title for something, I go, oh, this is let me quickly record this, so that way, because I'll forget it. I know I will. So that's another tool that you guys can use with the phones that we're using now as a business machine, as opposed to just a regular cell phone now. That's another tool that you can use as an author if you're out on the go and you come up with a story idea. Use your voice recorder on your Android phone if you have that. Now, I don't have the Apple product, so I'm not sure if they have something similar on their phones, but I'm sure that they do.
Yep, I agree. It's definitely not just for video games.
Exactly. All right, Richard. Well, again, thank you so much for stopping by. Any last words for my listening audience before I let you go?
No, yes. Don't wait to write. You can write as early as 5 years of age. You have that creative. If you have that creative spark, make that leap, because if you don't, it's just going to weigh down on you. And listen to what your creative soul is talking to you about. Don't listen to your ego that tells you, well, here are the reasons why you shouldn't. If it's telling, your soul is going to lead you in the right direction.
Exactly. I could not agree with you more. And now is the best time to get your information out there, your projects out there. It's just a great time to be a publisher and an author. It really is. So, Richard, get out there and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And we look forward to seeing you back here next time on the Author Chat Show, hon. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was author Richard Keller, and again, the title of his book is Coffee Cup Tales, Stories Inspired by Overheard Conversations at the Coffee Shop. So, number one, a great book. I really recommend that you guys log right on to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any place where you purchase books. Again, it's available in the Kindle format and paperback format. So I really hope that you guys get an opportunity to check it out. But again, it helps you to be a little mindful of what you're chatting about when you're out in public. You never know who's listening. And on that note, we'll catch you back here tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the Author Chat Show. We'll have a new author coming on to discuss her book. So we'll catch you right back here tomorrow on the Author Chat Show. Goodbye. Enjoy your Tuesday. Bye-bye.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can seem intense. Like breakup R&B intense.
I thought you said you loved the sweater that I got you. If you didn't, you could have told me.
Geico makes it easy. Just go to Geico.com anytime to update or check your policy without all the extra drama.
I even had a gift